Hello everyone, this is Venom, and we are just over a week away from the Feybreak expansion for Palworld. We were waiting for some official information for it to come out, and we finally got the trailer to drop after the Game Awards. Now we know what it's called. It's called Feybreak. We got to see a ton of new pals on there. We got some ideas of what it's going to be about. We saw tons of new items, and based on what I saw in the trailer, that breakdown I did, because I did an actual breakdown on my channel, I went over damn near frame by frame. It's something I've rarely ever done. I've gone frame by frame over that trailer, and I got these tips to prepare for the expansion. And the first tip is going to be, first off, just going to be just kind of a general tip. So the easy ones are going to be first. The first two are going to be easy. Get your doll coins. We're probably going to have new items coming out with the doll coin trader. If you haven't got your 2 new accessory slots, go and get those. It's going to cost 2,100 doll coins, I believe. There are a couple of ways you can farm them, but those are going to be very important because we're more than likely going to get new items, probably from some very powerful new items that are going to only be purchasable with doll coins. If you don't know how to get doll coins, you can farm them a few ways. You can get them from Mimog drops, and if you don't know how to farm Mimogs, I'm going to show you in the background how to farm them. I would suggest getting a Tombat because a Mimog is an uncommon spawn. Get yourself a Tombat, scan the area, see if a Mimog is there, and if it is, have a Blaze Owl not in your party. I don't know the ability stacks or not, but that will actually give you more drops on a neutral PAL kill, and the Mimog is a neutral one. So have some Blaze Owl knocked on you, bring the Tombat, scan the area. If you see one, go take it out, get your dog coins. You can also find them from piles all over the place. I would suggest going to Sakurajima. I said that without looking at the word this time. Go to Sakurajima and just search through the piles there. That's a good way to get them. I believe you can get them out of dungeon chests as well too, but the best place to farm them, as far as chests, is going to be to farm them on the oil rig. So Mimogs and the oil rig are the best 2 places I found to farm the dog coins. Get yourself a few thousand of them. I'm actually low on some. I've got less than 1,000. I'm gonna go farm some later on today, along with the breeding I'm doing with my team. So get yourself your dog coins, because I guarantee if you don't have some now, or when Feybreak first comes out, there will be some good items later on that you're going to want to get. Next up, again, this is one that most players probably already done, but it's going to be very important. If you have not done it already, you need to. That is, get yourself a Jet Dragon. Why do you need a Jet Dragon? Because it is a pain in the butt to get around the Palworld map. Now, there are flyers in the game besides Jet Dragon, but they are typically slower, and anyone will tell you if you're exploring the map, especially getting to new areas, it is very slow going with any mount other than Jet Dragon. Now, granted, most people probably already got it, so this is why it's at the beginning, because it's a very easy thing to get for you if you are a higher player. That's one of the first things we went after. Our first chase was getting Jet Dragon and bringing it up. But you really got to get yourself a Jet Dragon so you can travel around. If not, you need to make sure you've got a flying mount that does not have legs, or an Astagon. Now, why do I say that? The reason is we're going to be going to an island. There's going to be water. And just in general, you want to make sure you've got a mount that can get you across water. Now, again, for most people, this is not a big deal. But if you're new to Palworld, or you just haven't done this for some reason, it's going to be very important information for you. You see, there are 2 kinds of flying mounts. There are those with legs that can walk around, and those that don't walk. The only exception is going to be Astagon, and I'll get to that in a minute. But generally, you got your mounts with legs, your flying mounts with legs, and those without them. Your flying mounts with legs, when they land, they actually walk around on the ground. Okay, sounds reasonable. Now, those without legs actually just hover over the ground. This is important because when you're flying over water, if you've got a mount that does not have legs, it'll just hover right above the water, and it'll regain its stamina that way, right? You won't actually touch the water. However, if you are over the water and your mount with legs runs out of stamina, it will start to drown. It actually needs stamina to swim just like you do. So let's say you're on a Quivern and you're in the water and you are flying over the water and you're out of stamina and you try to land in it. Well, unfortunately, you don't hover over the water with a walking mount. Instead, it's going to start drowning. You're not going to make it across large bodies of water. So you're going to want to make sure you've got a mount that does not have legs that can actually hover over the water. Now, you can also get yourself an aquatic pal, something like a Yormatite. Would be fine, but you typically want to have one mount that can kind of do everything. And Jet Dragon is basically filled that spot for everybody because it's super fast, it's got no legs, and it's a flying mount, so it basically does everything for you. That's why it's a perfect pal for flying around. But like I said, if you can't get that one, get yourself a flying pal that has no legs. Now, the exception, one exception is that I can think of is Astagon. It's got legs, but it never walks. So if you've got yourself an Astagon, you should be good to go too. But keep that in mind. If you don't have a Jet Dragon or a mount that can go over water safely, go ahead and get yourself one. Next up, as far as resources I would suggest grinding out, my top 3 resources I would grind out are going to be crude oil, palladium fragments, and ore. The reason I say that is because you can see here in the ingots that every ingot takes ore for one. Now, with the exception, because refined ingots take coal, But taking that one out of the equation, we go ingots, then we go Palmetal ingots, and then we go plasteel. Okay, each one of those takes ore, and then as we go, they add on one more thing. So for Palmetal ingots, we need ore and palladium fragments, and for plasteel, we need ore, palladium fragments, and crude oil. My theory is that whatever new ingot we got, whatever new metal we got, is going to take the oil, fragments, ore, and whatever new resources added to the game. So that's why I'm getting these farmed up now. I don't want to have to go through and farm those up later at the last minute when I'm trying to make whatever the new ingot is and the new armor. So I would go ahead and start farming that one up as well by you guys. Next recommendation is going to be get yourself a lot of good dragons. Now, when we watched that trailer, you can go back and watch again, there seemed like a lot of dark pals were in that trailer. We saw a lot. I don't know if they weighted it that way on purpose or if this island's just going to be full of just tons and tons of dark pals, but dragon beats dark, so go ahead and get yourself a good dragon team. Now, luckily me, I'm a dragon trainer, so my team is always full of at least 3 to 4 dragons. I love dragons, and I've been a dragon trainer since the game I'm not going to mention because I'm pissed off at the company, but I am always a dragon trainer. Get yourself some dragons, it's going to come in handy. Next up, again, a very easy one, but make sure you got your Pal Spears crafted. Start crafting up as many Ultimate Spears as you can because there's going to be a lot of bosses to go ahead and capture. If it's anything like Sakurajima was, there are going to be a lot of open world bosses you're going to want to capture, a lot of alphas. Make sure you've got the Pal Spears for it because it's going to be a pain in the ass to capture some of these. They're going to be at the max level, and we're not going to start at the max level. So if you're trying to go after those from the beginning, you may be able to kill them, you may be able to take out the pals, but capturing them is another one. So make sure you got plenty of Ultimate Pal Spears so you can start capturing these creatures. Next up, this is going to revolve around dungeons. Make sure you got yourself 2 kinds of pals. One, make sure you've got a good mount pal for inside dungeons. For those who don't know what a mount pal is for inside of a dungeon, you don't want a pal that's too big. Like Jetragon, you can get on it in a dungeon, but you can't go from room to room. You got to get off of it in between rooms because the doorways are too small. For me, I use a chillet. So I would suggest go ahead and get yourself whatever pal you want, but that is a ground mount. That way you can go right through dungeons very quickly. And the second half of this is a 2-part one. For dungeon grinding, get yourself a Prickster. Now, for those who don't know, Prickster is a Scorpion-type pal, and its special ability is, when you pull him out in a dungeon, you can use his ability, and it will show you where that dungeon exit is at, so you can actually farm dungeons quickly, which brings me to the overall point I'm making. We're going to be farming dungeons a lot in the new update. You're going to want to be able to get to those dungeons very, very quickly. One, because you're going to want to be able to get to the Alpha Pals at the end to see what it is. And then 2, we're going to want to be getting those chests as quick as possible. We're going to be doing a lot of farming. The best way to do farming in dungeons is to get through it as quick as possible. Prickster will help you do that. So Prickster and a good ground mount to ride on to get through there. Like I said, personally, I bring my Prickster and I bring a Chillet. Chillet gets me right through. If I get hit by any enemies or I get trapped or something, I can freeze them, get around them, and move on. I do a lot of dungeon farming that way, and that combo has not let me down yet. And then finally, I'm going to talk at length about this one a little bit more than the others, and that is getting yourself your new raid team ready, because it looks like that black dragon we saw in the previews is going to be the raid boss. Now, I know it's a preview, but in the preview it did show a couple of those dragons kind of roaming about and attacking some of the henchmen. I'm hoping we can find versions of them out in the wild too, because I really, really want that black dragon. But if this goes like raids have in the past, unlikely. We're probably only going to be able to get that dragon by beating the raid, which means we need to be ready to beat that raid as soon as you can. It looks like it's a dragon and a dark type, which means it'll have 2 weaknesses potentially. Now, for dragon, the weakness is going to be ice. So right now, I'm actually breeding up a bunch of Frostalions. I was torn on whether to do Frostalion or Frostalion not. However, there's no real reason to do Frostalion not. You just want the ice type. You're going to resist dragon. You'll do more damage to dragon. There's no good reason to do the Noct as well, unless you just want it to look cool. Since it's a dragon type, it'll possibly have some fire type moves, so you will be weak to that as a frost type, but the Frostallion Noct version is not going to give you any additional resistance to fire. Now, every other raid so far, when the pal's about to die, it will actually change its weakness type. So that means the first half will likely be dragon, which means ice type will be perfect for it. After that, I don't know what it's going to turn into. Now, I believe for the first raid, she was a dark type and then turned to ice type. Now, that kind of makes sense because if you're fighting her and using her weakness, you'd be using dragon type. Okay. Now, dragon's weakness would then be ice. So it almost seems as though they will turn into whatever their weakness is, if that makes sense. For Blazamit, again, I haven't beat Blazamit yet. I forgot what he turns into, but I'm basically planning around the dragon turning into a fire type. So I think the Yormantide team that I'm working on is going to be fine. If not, then I think a neutral team will be fine. So I've already got an Asagon team. I've got a Jetrigan team. I'm working on my Yormantide team, and I'm working on my Ice team, my Frostallion team. So as of right now, I can test. Once I get the Frostallion team done, whether the other teams will be fine, we'll see what it turns into. But at the very least, start getting your Ice-type team ready to get past that Phase 1. Make sure you got yourself some missile launchers. Go ahead and farm up the... You should be farming up the ore rig whenever you can anyway, because you get some good stuff out of there. But farm up the dungeons and ore rig to try to get yourself those missile launcher schematics, because they do a lot of damage. And start getting your breeding going, too. Now, it's going to be even more important for you guys who are on the official servers, because I know the hatching rates are different for you. On my server, I turned off the hatching timer. I mentioned this before. I will never again wait for hours or days for an egg to hatch again. I did that on Ark, the official servers on Ark Survival Evolved for years. I'm never doing that again. On my server, you put an egg in an incubator, it's ready to go right then and there. I've only got one incubator now. Before I had it down to like 1%, so it would still take like a couple minutes for some of the eggs, but even I was like, what's the point in even doing that? So I just turned off the egg incubator timer. Make sure you go ahead and start working on your team now. If you're on the official servers, it's going to take you a while to start getting those numbers up. Now, if you're on single player, or if you're like me, you got your own server, we can start pumping these out now. That way, when the raid comes out, we can show you guys how to get through it the most efficient way possible. That is going to do it for today, guys. Those are a few tips to get ready for Feybreak. I do have another video coming out. It is some features I would like to see. Now, we've seen Feybreak. It didn't really tell us anything about new features. I've been scouring the websites. I've been scouring everywhere. So far, after that announcement, that trailer is the only new real information we've gotten as far as what's coming out. So there's been no other information. I'm looking for any kind of patch notes. I'm looking for any kind of stuff on the official website. I mean, yesterday the official website still didn't even have the new trailer up on it. So I know Pocket Pair is busy with the lawsuit from Nintendo, those jackasses. And so stuff like that might not necessarily be on their to-do list, but I am keeping my eyes open for any more information that comes out. I am very, very excited for this update, and I know you guys are too. So thank you all for coming by. Please like the video if you like what we're doing here. Please subscribe if you love what we're doing, and I will see you all on the next video.